5 to 7 kilometers thick. That's what we're using as an open sewer. If you could drive a car straight up in the air at interstate highway speeds, you'd get to the top of that blue line in 5 minutes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tirade TV. Glad you can all be with me right now. First of all, if you like this type of content, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. All comments are welcome as long as it's tasteful and respectful. So always keep that in mind. And you know how I like to do it. Let's jump right into it. Looking at this here today. And man, oh man, seemed like crime is getting out of control everywhere. According to this article here, it says armed Arizona gas station clerk shoots robber who pointed gun at customers. Goes on to say the suspect was taken to a hospital in critical condition. And let's get past that video there. I think it has nothing to do with what we are talking about. But the article goes on to read, an armed Arizona gas station clerk shot a would-be thief during a botched robbery after the alleged suspect pointed a gun at customers, officials said. So keep that in mind. Officials said that the would-be thief pointed a gun at the customers. A masked man stormed into a Chevron station just before 5 a.m. Wednesday and aimed his gun at the clerk. Avondale police told KSAZ TV. The clerk who was working the graveyard shift told the outlet that the suspect mumbled the words rob and money. Yeah, those are not good words to say out loud or even mumble for that matter, especially when you have a firearm in your hand. Quote, in our reality, he didn't need to say anything, unquote. The clerk, identified as Brian, said, quote, the moment he pointed the gun at me, it was pretty obvious what he was there for, unquote. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if someone, if you're a clerk and someone walks up to you pointing a gun, I'm pretty sure they're not there to make friends with you. And looked like this clerk understood that. So yeah, I mean, there wasn't really much to say after that. I'm assuming that's the photo of the clerk right there. Looked like a guy who could definitely defend himself though. But sometimes, when you have someone pointing a firearm at you, I mean, it's a little difficult. It's a lot difficult. The clerk said when the robber pointed a gun at customers, he jumped into action and shot the suspect. He trained for such situations, he told the station. Aha, okay. See, I told you he looked like somebody who could take care of himself. Quote, the suspect became distracted by another person in the store, and the store employee took the opportunity to pull out and use his own firearm, shooting and injuring the suspect, unquote, the police said in a statement. See, now, you won't necessarily hear about that on many mainstream media outlets. Now, if it had been the other way around, let's just say a certain person would have, I don't know if it had been like a school shooting, which they should report on that. But if it had been a school shooting or, some person just did some kind of mass shooting or something, that would have been reported. Or if it had been, another situation, just any other kind of situation where a person doesn't get credit for defending someone else, they would have showed it. But here you're in a situation where you have a guy who's defending himself, but also saving the lives of his customers. Like, this should have been all over mainstream media. Really, it should have. See, it's weird. It's funny how they always report the mass shootings. Like I said, they should, because mass shootings are like horrific. Some of the most horrific, egregious acts ever, right? But there are times too where they should also report, someone used a firearm for good. So they love showing and reporting when a firearm is used for bad. What about when it's used for good? In this case, this guy saved not only his own lives, but the lives of other people in the store. So this should have been reported. I mean, should have definitely been reported by every mainstream media outlet, but there's a reason why they don't want to report that. The unidentified suspect was taken to a hospital in critical condition and no other injuries were reported. Police said they will review surveillance from inside the store as part of their investigation. So yeah, all I'm saying is there are times where, many times, and I would actually say most of the time, firearms are being used to protect someone, to defend someone for good. But it seems like they're always used for bad, and the reason why, because that's all mainstream media reports, is when when they're used for bad. So automatically, if someone's so tied into mainstream media, they're gonna think, okay, well, firearms are only used for bad in most cases. But that's why someone like myself here and other people, on social media, to let you all know that no, firearms are used for good too. But that's just kind of where I'm at right now on that. I mean, what do you all think about that? They need to start reporting when firearms are used for good. But that doesn't fit the narrative. You see what I mean? The narrative is scary man with a big bad firearm, when in actuality a big bad firearm can actually save lives too. And sometimes it's not a big bad man, sometimes it's a big bad woman too. But like I said, doesn't quite fit the narrative, because I know plenty of women who know how to handle firearms just as well as men do, but for some reason they don't want to say anything about that. But that's just I guess that's one of my little rants for today. But moving on to other things, I'm looking at this here on Prepare Now for Total Financial Control. And look at this here. It's on shtfplan.com. And I'll leave the links to all of this information in the description. Prepare Now for Total Financial Control. This is something we've been knowing has been in the works for a while. I'll say if you're older than 15, 16 years old, and you actually research and actually read and don't rely on certain mainstream media platforms for your information, you would know that this was coming. It says the elites and governments are obsessed with controlling the human population at all costs. In order to make sure that they have as much control over everyone on this planet, a central bank digital currency is needed, and they're working on it. Central bank digital currency, CBDC, the acronym. Rulers use all kinds of proxies to snuff out undesirable behavior, like slaves who dissent. The ultimate goal may be to assume financial control over the populace through the implementation of a central bank digital currency, CBDC. We have often called this program quote unquote endgame. Once a person agrees to take a CBDC from their master, the illusion of freedom will dissipate. Endgame, central bank digital currency. Goes on to say here, as Clint Seeger, don't want to mess up this guy's name, but forgive me if I did, from Money Metals, points out, this is not a new endeavor. To control people through their time and laboring energies, that's the very heart of slavery. True. The effort to control people by targeting their money escalated in 1970 when the Bank Secrecy Act. It targeted cash specifically by requiring banks to report transactions involving more than $10,000. Yeah, that's been, like I say, my whole lifetime that's been going on. I mean, any transaction more than $10,000, you're going to have some issues. You may be able to, complete the transaction, but not without going through some red tape. This has been going on for a long time. And it's just something that we've gotten so used to or accustomed to that we don't even realize, to me, how it's an invasion of privacy. And they'll use any kind of excuse like, well, we want to make sure that, nothing fraudulent, illegal, or is going on, or making sure, you know, the bad guys aren't, you know, sending or receiving or wiring money, you know, that's trust me, they're smarter than that. The people who you need to catch in this game who are doing horrific acts, who are harming lives of people across the world, I'm pretty sure they're smart enough to wire or send or receive cash to the point where a bank or where a bank won't recognize it. Let's put it that way. Goes on to say here, PayPal recently went so far as to insert a provision in their terms of service which allowed the company to charge clients up to $2,500 if, at PayPal's sole discretion, they were spreading quote-unquote misinformation. The company also reversed course after the story went viral and many clients decided to dump the woke company. Yeah, I never was a big fan of PayPal anyway. I don't like the way they do business. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Elon Musk owns that too. But you know, I don't 100% trust him either. So I guess you know, everything goes hand in hand. Don't trust him 100%. Don't trust anything he owns or is CEO of 100% either. So goes on to say the Federal Reserve is openly developing a digital currency. It's part of a long-running globalist agenda to curtail financial privacy and increase control over people. Those who accumulate tangible, non-government money like gold and silver are sidestepping the elite's growing obsession with achieving total financial control. We need to prepare to watch people become willing slaves. Right now, the form of mental enslavement that's gripping most is not seen by too many. Once a CBDC is rolled out, any illusion of freedom will be gone. Yeah, that's true. Look at this here. I love this little this right here in the middle. It says mental slavery is the worst form of slavery. It gives you the illusion of freedom, makes you trust, love, and defend your oppressor, while making an enemy of those who are trying to free you and open your eyes. Hey, that's what's been going on the past few years. You know, there are people out there who are not victims of the mental slavery, and they're trying to open the eyes of those who are, and they get criticized, they get abused, they get told they're conspiracy theories, they get told that they're racist, you know, they get told that that, you know, that they're wearing the tinfoil hats or that they're crazy or whatever, when at the end of the day they're not mental slaves. Their eyes are open. As what we'll say in the Christian community, your spiritual eyes are open, because this is a spiritual war we're fighting. You know, what you see is not really to blame. It's what you can't see is what's to blame. People think that your enemy is somebody you can see. Your enemy is a tool being used by, I would say this, the real enemy is the spirit, right? The demonic spirit that's hovering across this country and in this world. But the tool that they're using is the physical person. You know, like certain nerdy billionaires or certain, you know, tech gurus or people like that, or certain politicians. Those are the physical people that, you know, really Satan is using. Let's be honest. But we still think that the enemy is that physical person. Because if that physical person was to retire, or something was to happen to that physical person today, does that stop what's going on? No. It just means someone else steps in and continues to complete the job. Because the true enemy is not that physical person. It's the demonic spirit behind that physical person. Goes on to say, quote, the illusion of freedom will continue as long as it's profitable to continue the illusion. At the point where the illusion becomes too expensive to maintain, they will just take down the scenery. They will pull back the curtains. They will move the tables and chairs out of the way, and you will see the brick wall at the back of the theater, unquote. Yeah, it's getting to that point where, let's be honest, there are certain things that have come out in the past few years that they really don't care, that we know now. Like it's like they're trying to implement certain things, like this this digital currency thing that big Asian country has been doing for a long time, having a social credit score and all that stuff. If you do something if you continue to just abide and be a good little slave, your social credit score is great. But if you do something or say something or be disobedient in some way, shape, or form, well, guess what? They dock you. Whether they bring your social credit score down, whether they freeze your assets, your money, whatever, that's what happened. And that's what happened in that big Asian country that people seem to love. And I'm not saying, when I say it, I'm not saying everyone in China is bad. There's some people over there who really need, they need spiritual discernment. But that's what's going on right now. And it's weird how when they show the big Asian country on the news or in social media, they always show the so-called wonderful, beautiful things over there. They show the lights and the architecture and everything. But when you step away from mainstream media and actually use other outlets or other sources of information, they'll show you what's really going on. Like there's literally slavery going on right now in China. I know a lot of black people over here complaining that we've been slaves, which we have. Yes. I mean, that's history though. We're not slaves now. We're not now. I would say if you're a slave right now in America, that's your fault. That's your fault. You can't blame the government or anyone else for that. That's you. But over in that big Asian country, there are literally slaves. And people love to say that there's more racism in America than anywhere else. Nah, there are places in China you can't go because they may not want a black person to eat there or dine there or you know what I mean, or frequent that business. There are places like that in China. But for some reason over here in America, we think we've been brainwashed into believing that we're the only country that's like that. No, sir. No, ma'am. But it's a mental slavery. Like it says here, mental slavery is the worst slavery. And I love how it says here that it gives you the illusion of freedom. So it's like you think you're free, but you're not really free. And not only that, it makes you trust, love, and defend your oppressor. Who would the oppressor be? Obviously, if it starts off with Satan, but then you want to use the physical, like I said, it's certain politicians, certain tech leaders, business leaders, whatever. It could even be and coming from a person who's a Christian, there are some pastors out there and church leaders out there who are really questionable right now. They are. Because they've sold out to Big Brother. Just saying. So when it's here, if and when they decide to roll this out, I'm not really concerned too much. Reason why, because I just believe, me personally, I can only speak for myself and my family. Hey, we live on God's economy. And if God wants us to have something, we can have it. But the problem is we don't believe that. That's why we struggle. We think we can achieve everything on our own. I guess we just figure we were born by ourselves, we wake up in the morning by ourselves, science, wakes us up and keeps us healthy. No. Come on, man. I mean, let's do away with the ego and the pride. Let's be honest. Good and well we don't wake ourselves up every morning. Good and well we didn't birth ourselves. Come on now. Let's like I say, let's remove the ego and the pride. But yeah, what do y'all think about this here? If and when they ever try to decide they're actually trying to work on it right now. They're trying to do it right now to implement the central bank digital currency. How would you all take that? What are you all gonna do? Do you have plans for that? Are you ready for it? Or would you just take part in it blindly and just do whatever you're told? Like a mental slave. Just saying. Y'all better wake up. Anyways, next story here before I let you all go. Comes some Patriot posts. This guy here, Mr. Al Gore. I haven't heard this guy's name in a while. I mean, the guy, well, it looked like he put on a few pounds, but I wonder if he's still upset about the 2000 election. I wonder if that's still in the back of his mind. Oh my goodness, I know I won. Blame Florida. You know, I don't trust him. And I certainly do not trust the other person that he was running against at that time, which is George W. Bush. So I don't know what happened with that. I wasn't really into politics a whole lot back then, but just seeing what's going on right now, I don't trust any of them. But reading here is titled, oh man, Angry Al's Unhinged Oratorio. When it comes to climate alarmism and opportunism, there is no beating Al Gore. It says, we've long envied those coastal elites, and now we have yet another reason, boiling oceans. Just imagine how easy it must be to make tea or spaghetti, right? If the ocean is boiling, just dip your little, put your noodles in there. And, when they're done after a couple minutes, just, get them out and put them in a little styrofoam cup or something. Imagine endless supply of ready-to-eat lobster right there on the beach. Yep. To put a lot of restaurants out of business, you can just get a fully cooked lobster, just pull it up out of the off the beach there. Who needs a gas range anyway? And so, our heartfelt thanks are due to Al Gore for once again jetting off the mean streets of Switzerland, for fending off the masseuses and the high-priced hookers, for telling us the inconvenient truths, or for opening our eyes to the promise of sizzling seas. Quote, people are familiar with that thin blue line that the astronauts bring back in their pictures from space, unquote. He began over there in Davos, next to the world's largest parking lot of private jets. Quote, that's the part of the atmosphere that has oxygen, the troposphere, and it's only 5 to 7 kilometers thick, or kilometers, some people say that. That's what we're using as an open sewer. Indeed, nothing beats writing one's name in the snow up there in the troposphere. I don't know why. Excuse me for kind of laughing a little bit. For some reason, I seem to find this. I've always Al Gore seems to be a little bit funny to me right now. He makes me laugh. But looking at this Twitter here from someone named Johnny, it says Al Gore has on-stage meltdown at Davos. Goes on hysterical rant about rain bombs, boiling oceans, atomic bombs exploding every day, climate refugees. Okay, let's see what we can see here on this. Could look like Al Gore. Let's see here. Let's see what he says. Old Al, good old Al, Big Al.
Going to bring these emissions down. And just to put the science in a slightly different context, people are familiar with that thin blue line that the astronauts bring back in their pictures from space. That's the part of the atmosphere that has oxygen, the troposphere, and it's only 5 to 7 kilometers thick. That's what we're using as an open sewer. If you could drive a car straight up in the air at interstate highway speeds, you'd get to the top of that blue line in 5 minutes. And all the greenhouse gas pollution would be below you. We're still putting 162 million tons into it every single day. And the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth. That's what's boiling in the oceans, creating these atmospheric rivers and the rain bombs and sucking moisture out of the land and creating the droughts and melting the ice and raising the sea level and causing these waves of climate refugees predicted to reach 1 billion in this century. Look at the xenophobia and political authoritarian trends that have come from just a few million refugees. What about 1 billion? We would lose our capacity for self-governance on this world. We have to act. So in answer to your question, I would say we have to have a sense of urgency much greater than we have yet had, and we need have.
Look, this guy. I thought this guy was retired or something. Like this guy just keep popping up every 4 or 5 years or something. Talking about this climate control thing, and I don't. I'm not really sure what's going on with this guy, man. He just. It's hard for me to figure this guy out because he just disappears and shows back up, and now he's acting like angry man up here. Um, what do y'all think is going on with this guy? I mean, of course he's sitting on the stage at the World Economic Forum in Davos. So that right there lets you know there's probably something wrong with him. But what do you all think about this guy? What is it? What do you think his plot or his plan is here, or what is it? What was his agenda showing up at this World Economic Forum? It goes on to say the great man continued, uh, which he said we're still putting 162 million tons of greenhouse gas into every single day, and the accumulated amount is now trapping as much extra heat as would be released by 600,000 Hiroshima-class atomic bombs exploding every single day on the Earth, unquote. Yeah, he's trying to get everyone all riled up about, really about, and people may criticize me for saying this, but I'm going to say it anyway. All riled up about nothing. I heard someone say that and it was a pastor evangelist I was listening to, and he said that we get in such an uproar about trying to save this earth when, biblically speaking, this earth is going to be destroyed anyway. Think about that. It's like, people are like, well, I don't believe in this biblical stuff. Well, I'm gonna tell you this. In the Bible, it talks about the mark of the beast and people not being able to, basically take part in the world's economy if you don't get that mark. 2020 and 2021, the past few years actually, should have shown you that that could possibly be true. Because people who wasn't getting that sticky or wearing that face diaper, they weren't able to do certain things. They were, maybe they got fired. Maybe they weren't able to shop in certain places, travel in certain places. But I guess that was all a coincidence to you all, right? Okay. If you think that's a coincidence, go right ahead. But that was not a coincidence. Older people used to always tell me that there's no such thing as coincidences. Things happen for a reason. So I don't know what you all think about this guy. I mean, he's been so many years now trying to get people, so revved up or riled up about, climate change and all this stuff, and then he shows up out of nowhere and in Davos at the World Economic Forum, face as red as a fire truck, yelling and screaming about this. He need to calm down, man. He need to just go back into retirement or something. Like whatever it is this guy's been doing, just go back and do it, man. Cause we're not really trying to hear you right now, buddy. Like I said, I don't know if this is he's still having flashbacks or from when he lost the election back in the day, or quote unquote lost the election. We don't know what went on with that. I don't think anyone would ever really know. Cause as I said, neither him or the other guy who defeated him, who so-called defeated him in the 2000 election, can't really trust either of them. So anyways, let me know what y'all think about this. If you'd like to support the channel, please go to tiradetvshow.com, purchase a t-shirt, hoodie, sweatshirt. Also check out the podcast on all your podcast platforms. And always remember this: we must be a praying people and a praying nation. See you.